remember a couple of weeks ago when I read from On Tyranny by Professor Timothy Snyder. I believe he's a Yale professor. And he wrote this when Donald Trump first came to power. And the very first chapter, page 17, is do not obey in advance. I'm going to read it one more time because it bears repeating, because we're seeing all across the political spectrum, all across from elected officials to people who do my job in independent media, people like Cenk Uygur, they are obeying in advance. It is anticipatory obedience to Donald Trump. It's at the very least, it's going before these crowds of fascists, sharing a stage with absolute vile racist and white supremacist Charlie Kirk, glad-handing and shaking hands and acting like, oh, we can go have a beer, Nazi pal. And you're seeing, it's not just Cenk. I mean, it's a problem. He is a turncoat. Absolutely. What he's doing has no efficacy. There is no outcome that he will provide that will be good for the American people or point the Republican Party toward making the lives of people better. This isn't just about disagreements. Anyway, I will get to all of that. Most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. And that, my friends, is exactly what Cenk Uygur did this weekend. Appearing on a stage in Phoenix, Arizona at the Nazification of America Festival with Charlie Kirk, appearing on stage, again, glad-handing. I'm going to show you two clips. One is the very opening when they first come on stage where Cenk has a mighty congratulations to offer. Congratulations on a revolution well done.
So, Cenk, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So Cenk, the spirit of inviting you is that there's some confusion of these divides of right versus left, populist versus corporatist. I guess a good opening would be, as a man in the progressive movement, as one of the leaders of the progressive movement, what do you make of this last year, the state of the Democrat Party, and kind of American politics from the more progressive left perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm proud to represent the left flank of the populist movement, and I think we need both flanks, so I'm happy to have this conversation. In terms of what has gone wrong in the Democratic Party, it's the same thing that went wrong in the Republican Party, but I do have to give you guys credit for a revolution well done.
No, you don't, Cenk. No, you don't, Cenk. No, you don't. You don't need to give them credit for a revolution well done. You don't need to give them credit for anything. All you're doing is making their job easier, their agenda easier to accomplish by giving them cover, by legitimizing them, by sitting before this crowd of conspiracy theorists and white supremacists who deny that the insurrection was an insurrection. You're giving them cover and concealment from their crimes against humanity. And if you think it's too much, it's at the very least, crimes against democracy, crimes against normalcy, crimes against good order and discipline within a democracy. I mean, come on. Second clip, this takes place about 17 minutes in, where they're literally handshaking with one another. Charlie Kirk, a white supremacist, someone who is an anti-Semite, someone who hired someone outed as a virulent anti-black white supremacist by Tucker Carlson. Fox News fired him when his secret blog was exposed. Blake Neff is his name. And Charlie Kirk snatched him up to be a producer and a frequent appearer on his show. And Cenk Uygur has nothing but good things here. Handshakes, and let's go get a beer with Charlie Kirk. Watch this.
So you got to know what to convince the American people of and what to hold your ground on. And the number one thing to hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do some...
Like the Second Amendment.
So, no, I know. So guys, look at that. We totally disagree on that issue, but we just...
You were asking for that one, I'm sorry.
No problem. No, but look, but that was an important moment, because we totally disagree on that issue, but we just shook hands anyway. And you know what we'll do afterwards? We'll have a beer. So, you know what it is when you disagree on something and then you fight about it and then you have a beer afterwards? That's called America.
Look, this isn't about finding common ground. If Adolf Hitler said, look, I like oxygen, it's good, it helps me live, you wouldn't say, well, look, there are some things that I agree with Hitler about. You don't need to do that. You don't need to find common ground with people who want to destroy democracy, with a party that endeavored to end democracy in America, literally attacked, had a failed coup attempt with their insurrection at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Why shake hands and say, we can go get a beer, because now, yeah, we can disagree. When your disagreements are about people's right to exist, human rights, about participation in the democratic process, that's a bridge too. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't glad hand with white supremacists, with racists. I don't break bread with racists. I don't have beers with racists. Apparently, the people Cenk chooses to sup with, to cavort with, are just different than me. He has a different tolerance level for vile white supremacy and white Christian nationalism, which Charlie Kirk represents. I used to, decades ago, when I was a young Republican, I used to say things like what Cenk just said. Well, we could disagree. I don't get angry about politics. I just have a different opinion than you. And I came to kind of realize that was because I had no skin in the game. Cenk is a wildly wealthy man. The Donald Trump administration isn't going to come for him. In fact, he'll benefit from the Trump administration tax policies because he's a rich man. And when I was a young Republican, I was a white Marine, middle class. I held privilege in my existence. I carried with me privilege. So I could be a Republican and support Republican policies because they weren't going to hurt me. I had no skin in the game. I'm not black. I'm not being oppressed. I'm not being boxed out of the franchise of democracy. I'm not gay. I'm not being oppressed. I'm not being told you're not fully equal. You're not fully American. You can't fully actualize and realize the bounty that is America. But apparently, Cenk is so simplistic in his thought, he doesn't work through that. He's okay with sharing a stage, hyperbole or not, he's a Nazi. He is most certainly a white supremacist. He is most certainly an anti-Semite. We could put together a collection of some vile things that Charlie Kirk has said, many of which would get the videos demonetized. That's the kind of character we're dealing with here, that Cenk Uygur made a decision to go and bolster the roster of guests at this Nazification of America festival, choose to be there. It's one thing if you go on Piers Morgan with a bunch of these dipshits. It's another thing entirely to appear as a guest on stage to legitimize their movement, to offer congratulations on a revolution well done, Charlie Kirk. we have a traitor issue in our politics today. Anticipatory obedience. What is the end goal for Cenk Uygur here? This veering to the right, him and his co-host Anna Kasparian, their bigotry about homelessness, their fear-mongering about crime that doesn't materialize, their bigotry about trans rights not being human rights in their eyes. It's gross. And they're giving aid and comfort to the enemy. And I don't use the word enemy lightly. These people are our enemies. It's not just a difference of opinion. If it was just tax policy, fine. If it's just gun policy, okay. It's not. It is about people's right to exist. It's about women's access to health care. They want to fundamentally, structurally change our culture and our society. And Cenk Uygur apparently is here for it. He's here to legitimize it as just a difference of opinion. I'm not here for it. Are you? I invite you to this conversation. You can comment below. Make sure you're subscribed. You can call the voicemail line, and I'm sure there's going to be people who disagree, and that is fine. 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Follow me on social media. I am all around at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And if you want to help support this work and produce actual progressive independent media, you can click the join button below for $2 a month. Become a channel member or go over to my Patreon, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. I love and appreciate you very much, even those of you who do disagree. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.